everybody, and welcome back to Rainy Day Science with the Wareham Land Trust. My name is Melyssa, and I am the Terracorps Youth Education Coordinator at the Wareham Land Trust. And today we're going to be talking about how birds stay dry. So, as you may have noticed, when swans, ducks, geese, and other seabirds go into the water, they don't have to dry themselves off afterwards. Kind of weird, right? But in reality, the reason that this happens is because the birds have oil glands under their feathers, and that oil is distributed or moved around their entire body while they're preening or cleaning themselves and moving around every day. Now, when water gets onto the bird's feathers, because of this oil, the water is repelled or pushed away. Today, we're going to do an experiment to check out how that happens. So, what you're going to need are just a few supplies that you have around your house. You will need a little bit of water, some markers, some crayons, and 2 pieces of paper. Now, you can get fancy and cut these into bird shapes or color a picture of a bird, whatever you feel. I'm just going to be using some rectangles. So, the first thing that you're going to want to do is put your water aside. You won't need that quite yet. And we are going to color each of these squares or rectangles, one with crayon, one with marker. And we're going to color the entire page, which is why you want small pieces, and both sides. All right, so now that we're done coloring, we can move our crayons and markers aside. And for this part, you do want to have either a mat or a cookie sheet underneath in order to make sure that you're not making a mess of wherever you are doing this experiment. So there are a few different ways you can do this part. You can either dip your pieces of paper into the water, or you can just drop a little bit. If you have a paintbrush, you can also paint the water onto your pieces of paper. So I'm just gonna do a few little drops. Let's pretend that it's raining. Okay. Now we're gonna let that sit for a second. And if you look closely, you can see that the color on the marker piece is starting to bleed or blend together, whereas the water is sitting on top of the piece of paper that is covered with crayon. Now I'm going to pick these up, and you'll see the piece of paper with the marker is very wet. It's dripping, and it's dripping color. And the water has soaked through to the other side as well. Now for the piece of paper with the crayon, if we pick this up, the water rolls right off. And where I've missed putting crayon on this piece of paper, you can see that it has started to bleed through. But if I were like a bird and able to get the oil, or in this case, the wax of the crayons, to spread evenly across all of my feathers, no water would go through, and the water would be repelled from my feathers. And that, my friends, is why birds stay dry. Now you might be wondering, what would happen to a bird if it didn't have this oily layer to keep its feathers dry? The double-crested cormorant, which you might see in the waters around Wareham, and especially in Buzzards Bay, dives underwater to catch fish. That is their main food source, and they're very, very good at it. In order to be better swimmers, the double-crested cormorant needs its feathers to get wet. And over time, as they're swimming, the feathers do become waterlogged, which is why you'll often see double-crested cormorants out of the water, sunning themselves with their wings outstretched, drying their feathers. So if a swan or duck or any other bird species did not have this oily layer, they would have trouble flying, and it would be very hard for them to stay warm. Thank you all so much for watching today. We hope you enjoyed this video. It was brought to you by the Wareham Land Trust, and if you did, please consider liking and subscribing to our YouTube channel and following us on Facebook and Instagram. Also, you can check out our website, warehamlandtrust.org, to learn more about common birds and other wildlife species in Wareham.